Hey, good afternoon, everybody. What's going on? This is Average Discussion. I am your host, Chris. Thank you for joining me today here on Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. It's about 40 degrees just outside the Salt Lake City area here in Utah. Nice, windy, cool day. A little bit overcast, nothing too crazy. Maybe some rain or snow up in the mountains, but it is pretty chilly with the wind. Hey, first things first, I want to thank you for being here. Second, I woke up today, wasn't feeling the best. My stomach was a little messed up. I probably just ate something funky. Probably that turkey bacon wrap would be my guess. Because as far as I know, everybody else in my family's doing good, so I don't think it was the dinner. It was probably that dang wrap. Or, it's just a lifetime of bad decisions catching up. Who knows? I don't really know. But either way, yeah, so I stayed home today. Just not feeling the greatest, and it wasn't going to be good for anybody. I wasn't going to be super productive. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty stiff, pretty sore. So it is what it is. But as a result, though, I got to take in the day, because I'm not like sleepy or anything like that. So I came up to the mountains, and right now I'm sitting out overlooking the reservoir out here. It's a nice view, very, very awesome. I took a drive out to the edge of town. Got to see a nice view out there, with the clouds and the sunshine poking through it. It ended up being a really, really great scenic view. So if you haven't seen it, I did post a couple pictures up on Instagram and on Facebook, Average Discussion page. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, you can check it out. But it's pretty nice, man. It's pretty nice. And so as a result, today, what I kind of want to talk about is probably a little less comedic in nature. I try to crack jokes and be funny, but I don't know. I'm kind of reflecting the day, and it's kind of nice. You know what I mean? So, but I'll start you off with something though. So last night, my son, he got recognized by his school, him and 100 and so, I think they said 170-ish kids, I think it was, from the school, who do this program called CTE, CTE Pathways. The only CTE I was familiar with was from concussions, so, that's different. But basically, it's these career path things that these kids can do to better suit them for opportunities coming out of high school, right? And my son, he did two of them, one for sports medicine and another for nursing. And so he got award, he got a medallion and some certificates and stuff like that last night. So we go to that, and it's at the high school, it's at the auditorium, and you got all the teachers up there. It really looks like a Hogwarts scene with a low budget, right? And so we're up there. The floating candles were just people on fire. So it worked out, right? So we're there, and they're trying to get going. It's supposed to start at I think it was 6:30, maybe 6. I can't remember. But either way, they're trying to get going, and they can't get the microphone to work. And so as I'm sitting there and I'm watching them try to do charades from the auditorium stage up to the production booth, there that's probably ran by teenagers who are on Instagram or something, not paying attention to this older lady trying to gesture for their attention. It just wasn't working. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is a stage full of educators, can't figure out a microphone. Microphones aren't new. How long they've been around? So I did a quick Google search while I was there. Yeah. And apparently microphones have been around since 1876. So what are we still struggling with? Why is this a problem? And literally every event that I go to, there's an audio video quality technological problem of some sort that I always get the luxury of sitting through, and painfully sitting through nonetheless, because I feel, and here's the reason. I'm not saying that there's not issues with those systems. What bothers me is, did nobody think to maybe, I don't know, preemptively do checks and I don't, I guess I'm being slightly judgmental because things happen, right? But geez Louise, it seems like it's every single event. Like, don't you guys get tired of looking like buffoons? I would get tired of looking like a buffoon, but I don't know. And then I came across this today, which I thought was pretty funny. And it said, the best part of racing moments in film is when someone notices they're behind, so they just decide to go faster. Thought that was pretty accurate myself. But so to kind of get into what I wanted to talk about today, I'm not a overly religious person, okay, but I do find value in certain aspects of it, right? So I'm going to read this passage from the book, okay, but it leads into kind of what I'm talking about, right? So it's Acts 17:24. It says, "The God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by man." Okay. I'm sure it probably varies a little bit depending on which edition of the book you're reading, but that's the gist of kind of what I want to talk about today, right? Because you know, for those who don't really know me personally, I I've looked into a lot of, I guess you would call it, pagan style belief systems, right? And the reason I've looked into them because it's always interested in me how I feel personally when I'm in nature, okay? And so as a result of that, it's always been something that's intrigued me, right? And so today, like I said, I wasn't feeling well. I've been super stressed out and physically exhausted, and I kind of wanted to reset myself. You know what I mean? And I don't know. People who know me, I think know that I tend to go into these funks every now and then. And what I found is that when I do small things like this, right, I have a better success rate of staying out of it and not getting trapped in it for such a length of time. And it doesn't always work, just kind of depends. But I go through these spurts where I just want to get away. I just want to disappear, and not necessarily like I'm trying to like do anything detrimental to myself or anything like that, right? But I like to get a better perspective, right? And as a result of that, I end up here quite a bit, and I think that that's a good thing, because I feel so much more at peace when I'm in the presence of nature. I don't know what it is. There's probably multiple things, you know what I mean? But, what's this connection? Is it spiritual? Is it biological? Like, is there something within my genes and many other people's genes that we're just drawn to this kind of stuff? I don't know. You could go off on a plethora of ideas, I think, you know what I mean? Some people just, they don't connect with, the mountains and the woods the same way, but other people do, right? Just like some people don't connect with the desert, but some people do, right? And so like, I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, I feel so much more connected to a lot of things just sitting up here, right? And the crazy thing is, I'd like to say that I'm doing something productive or something extraordinary, and the truth is that I'm not. I'm just sitting here. I've been sitting here for hours, honestly. Been sitting here for hours, taking some pictures, just really soaking it in, thinking. And the thing is I couldn't even tell you what I'm thinking about. I just know that I'm thinking, and I wish I could explain it. I really do, but the truth of it is I can't. And these are things that I've learned about myself, having gone through, the mental work that I've had to go through to overcome my shortcomings and to deal with issues that, presented themselves as a result of, military service, just natural life, right? And this is what I found has worked for me, and I try to pass this stuff along. That was the whole purpose of me starting, at least this is in my head, this was the whole purpose of me starting this podcast, as Spreaker likes to tell me, 8 years ago, right? Because I was going through treatment, and I felt like the things that I was learning and the things that I was experiencing could be so beneficial to other people that I wanted to share that. And at the time, podcasts, I don't think they definitely weren't as big as they are now. I think that they were just starting, and I was probably getting in at the right time, but I wasn't in a space mentally to where I was able to probably give it the attention that it needed to be successful. Much like today. I mean, that doesn't really change. I go through these spurts of huge productivity, followed by just droughts of no interest. And there's a whole plethora of psychological reasons for that, I'm sure. But the truth of it is that it sucks sometimes, right? But I always come back and I find that I still have this undeniable drive inside me to want to help people in whatever way that I can. And sometimes I think that the best way that I can help is just by sharing my thoughts, by sharing my perspective, by sharing my experiences. And so that's why I always end up back at this. It's probably never going to make me a millionaire, and that's okay. Really, that's okay. I just hope that along the line, I can provide something to somebody that makes their life a little bit more tolerable or better in some way, shape, or form. Because as I look over this valley, right, seeing the communities and how small they look, I think of how overwhelming the stress they bring often is, right? Like, I'm literally looking at this, and you can see the town that I live in. You can see the town just to the east of where I live. You can see the bigger city / town to the southeast of where I live, and it all looks so small from this perspective, right? But when you're down in it, it can feel so overwhelming, I think, right? With all the things you got to get done, all the the bills, the grind, the kids to this, the kids to that, or dang it, I got to mow the grass, or oh, I forgot to get the trash out. Just like whatever it is, it can get to the point where it feels overwhelming, right? And I think sitting up here, the perspective that I get from it is just how small it is. You know what I mean? I find myself thinking about how simple life could be. How peaceful, enjoyable, purposeful, even. But yeah, it's almost like instinctively we complicate it. I don't know that we mean to, and that's the crazy thing about it, right? Like I don't think we're intentionally trying to complicate our lives, because if you think about the things that we say generally drive us through with advances, it's to make our lives easier, right? But yet somehow it always ends up making it more complicated. It's crazy. It's crazy, and I just look out at this valley, and I think to myself that why are we doing any of this stuff? It doesn't make sense. Like, why am I driving around mountains to go work? Like, why do we do this to ourselves? And it's a weird thought process that I end up stuck in. You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you, I wish you guys could all be here with me. I do. I wish you guys could all be here with me and seeing this. But the thing is that you may not see it the same way that I do, and that's the crazy thing too, right? That's the human experience. Everybody sees it differently. With all of our greatness and our achievements, it's like we've done nothing more than just ensure our own slavery to systems created by the easements of life. That's how I feel when I look over this. You know what I mean? But somebody else might not see that. They may feel something completely different, and that's the cool thing about this journey, about this experience, man. It's stressful, it sucks at times, but the individual perspectives are so cool. Sometimes they're dull and boring, but I think most of the time it's pretty cool, man. If you really stop and you think about it from a perspective of somebody else's thought process, I think it can be a really cool thing, But I don't know. For me, nature is a huge connection for me. Connection to something. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I don't know if it's a biological thing, a spiritual thing. I couldn't tell you. And you know what? I don't even know that it matters. If I'm being honest with you, I don't know if it matters. Because it's funny to me. We've interpreted nature, in modern Western American society, especially, right? But in Western ideology, we've interpreted nature as somewhat pagan, I think, in a lot of ways, right? Because of the whole religious aspects that dominate our societies. And it's funny because, you know, though we look at nature worship in particular as being something that's pagan, right? Even their own book says things about nature, right? And it's like the book speaks on nature being the greatness of God. And, you know, it's strange to me because, I mean, here, I'll even read some quotes real fast so that, you know, you don't think that I'm just spitting off things I haven't actually at least read the passages of, you know. And it says, the God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth and does not live in temples built by human hands. That's straight out of there. I did not, for some stupid reason. I think that's that might be Acts 17:24. Yeah. So this is a different version of the same passage that I had to open this up with, right? So I don't know if one was like the NIV or KJV, King James Version, or what, but you know, so again, the God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth and does not live in temples built by human hands. And he is not served by human hands as if he needed anything. Rather, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else, right? And so, like, that's what I mean by even the book talks about like nature being a part of God, right? So whether you're talking about Christianity or paganism or whatever, it's, in my opinion, it's the same thing, right? Like, yes, the pagans attributed multiple gods to things, and where this is a singular God. Like, so I understand that conflict of interest, but in reality, they're talking about the same thing, you know. For ever since the world, this is Romans 1:20, it says, for ever since the world was created, people have seen the earth and sky. Through everything God made, they can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature. So they have no excuse for not knowing God. I don't know how you took that, but I take that as like, yes, like this is whatever creation, right? Whether you believe in it as a singular, the multiple, whatever the case is, that passage to me speaks clearly to the fact that nature is a direct reflection of that entity or that spirit or those multiple entities or multiple spirits. I don't think that it really matters, you know, in terms of how many deities you attribute to that. The bottom line is that it's saying nature is the I guess you could say fingerprint of that, right? And so it's crazy to me because, you know, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know a lot of like the Germanic tribes, the Celtic tribes, and things like that. They had sacred groves, right? Like places within the wilderness that they would go to in a roundabout way, give their offerings, worship, whatever, right? And those were things that were destroyed intentionally during the spread of Christianity, right? And that makes sense to me from a military standpoint. Like, you destroy everything that makes them who they are, and then you replace it with your stuff, and over time they just assimilate in, right? Like that makes sense to me. I completely understand it, but it's interesting to me that it's just one of those things that we've continued to, you know, kind of adapt into our societal views, right? Because I live out here in a pretty vast area. There's a lot of public land where you're able to kind of go and see it, right? So it's interesting. It's funny to me to see like the YouTube people who live in the cities and stuff, and you know they get their vans and then they come out to these places and they're so mesmerized by it. And it's only funny to me because I look at it and I'm like, yeah, man, like, didn't you already know this? But then, you know, when I stop and I think about it, like, a lot of places don't have this, man. And it's something that I think gets taken for granted when you do have it. When this is your, like, go to the pages, go to Instagram, go to Facebook, check out the pictures. Like, when this is your everyday view, people I think tend to take that for granted, right? And so it's not that, I mean, I guess in a way it's their fault because they could definitely move or whatever, right? But it's not their fault that they were raised in a city, right? And never got to experience that kind of stuff. And so, like, I totally understand how it's such a jaw-dropping type scenario, right? And I don't know. And I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Because me myself, I feel closer to everything up here. You know, myself, my thoughts, my feelings. You know, I have an opportunity to put things into perspective. You know, I don't feel the stress of the constant hustle and grind to achieve things, right? I just want to stay in this place forever. And so like I I'm glad that they feel similar to that, you know. If anything, I'm just slightly jealous I haven't been able to capitalize off of it like they do. But no, I mean it's awesome, and I encourage anybody to do it, you know, especially if you live around it and you don't do it. That's the biggest thing that I think I've taken in since getting out of the army and coming back here to Utah, right? There's all this amazing stuff, right? And don't get me wrong, it's not like it's attraction based in the sense like you have a ton of activities, right? But like there's so many things to see. So if you're somebody who values just the experience of being able to see things, especially in nature, Utah's an amazing place. It really is. There's so much to see, so much to go adventure and do. Um and I never took advantage of that when I lived here before, you know. And a lot of that was because at that time I thought 6 hours was a very long drive. And now it's just like, yeah, no, let's go after work. It's fine. You know? So it's strange. It's strange. But no, if you live around it, I think you tend to just take it for granted. Like I said, you don't get to experience it. And I don't know, I haven't done anything all day. I've literally been sitting up here at the base of the mountain because I tried to go up a little higher. I was in Studio Charger earlier, when I first went up to the reservoir, and then I was like, I want to go a little higher, so I went back home real fast and got my truck. So now I'm in Studio Silverado, and I don't know, it's a pretty muddy mess the higher up you go. So I'm kind of at the base of the mountain right now, just at this little turnoff, and just just been sitting here for hours, man, doing absolutely nothing. And I feel so much more at ease, so much more at peace, you know? And I feel like that's something that a lot of people could benefit from. You know, just taking a moment to just disconnect yourself from our reality, even if that's just for an hour. I think that goes so far. I really do. And I need to be better about finding ways to do this. I think in my regular routine, to where I don't feel like the only way for me to do it is to have a day where I can barely walk and my stomach's messed up. To be like, yeah, I'll take a day off and go clear my head. You know, I need to be able to do this when I don't feel under the weather, when I don't feel like walking is a chore, right? So that I maybe get a better balance. You know, I think that's what it really boils down to, is just getting a better balance, you know. Um, I don't know. I'm big into trying to understand lineage, not necessarily like I think it started as family lineage, right? But we all have a story of where our people came from, you know, and oftentimes it gets shadowed into the negative stuff for sure, right? Because that's human nature, right? But you know I've said it before, but I feel like, you know, a big thing out here in the Southwest in particular, and you know, in Utah and stuff like that, is Native American stuff, right? Um, there's some tribes around here with you know, the reservations and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say that we know everything about it, right? Like we're not taught everything about it, but it's incorporated into our society to a degree. Probably not as much as it should be, to be fair. It's a known thing, right? Like it's not strange to us. Whereas if like, you know, you came from, I don't know, maybe like New York or something, maybe it might be a strange thing to you, right? But like here, it's pretty common for us, right? And as a result of that, a lot of people get wrapped up in the the philosophy and spiritual ideology of Native Americans, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But the reason I bring that up is because I think it's interesting that in a lot of people's views, and probably even mine until I started looking into things more, right? I thought that was inherently unique to Native American culture, right? And the truth of it is that it's not. Like if you look at any ancient groups of people, very similar. You know, there's differences for sure, but very similar practices and beliefs and nature-based ideas and this idea of a oneness, right? Like that wasn't unique to just the one culture. And it is interesting to me because, like I said, I think, you know, for a lot of people, I feel like they believe that that's somewhat a unique perspective. And so it gets romanticized a lot, in my opinion. In my opinion, Native American philosophy and ideology gets romanticized to such a degree in the Southwest that I don't really want to say anything negative about it because it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like it's okay that it gets romanticized. Again, though, I just want to point out that that's kind of been all of our stories. The difference is that we're further removed from it, I think, as non-Native Americans than especially reservation and things like that, right? And you know, maybe I'm off on that. You know, I could definitely be off on that, but that's just the perspective that I have of it, right? So like, I've said it before that I think that everybody was on the right path prior to the Abrahamic religions, and that's not to diminish the faith that Christians have. I'm not trying to say that, but if you can't look at what happened with the Abrahamic religions in terms of the conversion by force and not see a problem with that, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know if we can continue to have a conversation. That doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't make your belief system bad, right? But we can't deny the fact that the reason it's as widespread as it was is because of conversion by force, right? And you know, I don't know. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to trash somebody's thought process, right? But I feel personally that as humans, we all kind of had it right in terms of nature and living in harmony, and we've kind of tarnished that to probably an unfixable level, you know. And it's complicated, right? Because I'm not going to say that everything about the modern world sucks. Like, it's pretty cold outside right now. It's pretty windy. There's like some fake hail. I call it styrofoam snow because it just does not look real. It's not quite hail, but it's not quite snow. It's really weird. It's probably a big part of the weather manipulation that the government's doing. At least that I'm more and more convinced every day that they're doing. Because again, it's May and we're under a freeze warning, so it's a little weird for our area this time of year. But you know, it is what it is. So I'm not gonna say that everything's bad because I'm in Studio Silverado here. If it gets too cold, I can turn the heater on. You know, I'm wearing a hoodie and slippers instead of, you know, fur clothing because of that, right? And then when it gets hot, I'll have the AC. You know, we don't have to worry about trying to see in the dark. We got lights, we got things like that. So I'm not going to say that everything about the modern world is terrible, but it does make me wonder more times than not. You know, yes, all those things are great, but would life not be better if maybe we didn't have them, right? And what I mean by that is quality of life may not be better, but fulfillment of life might be. You know, I think relationships would be built stronger. I think purpose of life would be more identifiable. You know, but yes, it would probably be colder. It would probably be hotter. I don't know if there's a balance between the two. I like to think that there could be. but maybe there can't be. Maybe in order to have AC and refrigerators and stuff, this is the only way that we can do it. Because without it, we can't sustain power or whatever, right? Like, I don't know. I would be lying though if I said that I didn't feel like life would be better without some of this stuff. As much as I enjoy some of it, and I definitely relish in it, I take it for granted, and I don't know. I don't see any purpose in working at a plant though. You know what I mean? I'm just making money. There's no purpose there. There's no grand scheme. Like, what am I doing? I'm making money to buy shit that yes is convenient, but it's, I don't know. It's just not necessary in a lot of ways, right? And it's only necessary because of the society that we've created with it, right? And so it's like the purpose there is not there, and we exploit each other. We look to screw each other over all the time. It's made us, in a lot of ways, in my opinion, just bad people. And that probably existed before too. I'm not going to say that didn't exist before. It didn't just start when America hit 330 million people. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that. But this desire, this drive for advancements and, things that we say are making our life better, it just always seems to make our life more complicated. So, but again, like, I feel closer to everything up here. I feel at peace. I feel a little frustrated though too at the same time, because, especially the more I talk this out. This is my therapy session. So if you guys are still here, thanks for listening. There's no real motive or storyline here. I'm just trying to share thoughts and grow a community. So I don't know, man. I really want to start just a gathering of some kind, and just get people together. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool. Gotta do nothing. We can just find a spot and go hang out. It'll probably have to be in the desert though, because everybody owns everything, Like, you get like 5 spots, especially if there's water around. Good luck finding spots, So maybe I'll just have to load up a bunch of water and pick a spot out in the desert, and we all just go make a bonfire or something. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. Just enjoy it, man. It's cool. The cities and stuff like that, it's cool. It's not for me though, I don't think. I don't mind going to them and indulging in some of the modern luxuries of life, right? But I'm telling you right now, if I felt like I wouldn't have to do it alone, because as much as I don't mind being alone, I don't want to be alone, right? And so if I didn't feel like I'd have to do it alone, I'd go to the house right now. I would grab my tent and I would just go figure it out. But if there's one thing that I know about myself, is that the longer that I'm by myself with my thoughts, the worse it can kind of get. So, like, this is good temporarily, but being by myself for a long duration, it's not probably a good idea. I don't know, but maybe it's one of those things, like, I just got to get through. All right, get through those dark times, and then boom, you can move on up in prosperity. I don't know. And you come back from the mountain and you're like, I was talking to this burning bush and it gave me these rocks with these letters in it. And no, I didn't make that. Somebody else did. But these are good rules to follow. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. I do find some of the ways that, God has spoken to man. I do find them slightly entertaining. But hey, maybe I'm completely wrong, and that stuff really did happen, and that's the miracle behind it. I could be completely wrong. All I know is that when I get wherever the hell it is I'm going, and I hope they ask me the question, and say, how did you connect? And I'll tell them that this is how I did it. And I don't think that because I didn't go to a temple or because I didn't go to a church that's on every corner and looks just like the other church that's on the other corner and confess within the walls of that community to people within that establishment my sins. This is where I come to confess my sins. I come up here to ask for forgiveness for the things that I've done in my life, for the things that I do wrong on a daily basis. This is where I come. I'm not talking to some random person who's going to use that as judgment against me. What for? That's not how I do things. And you know what? If because of that thought process, it gets me banished from whatever glorious facilities await, then I guess it is what it is, man. You know? I don't know. It's just quiet here. And I said all that, and seriously, like the wind just stopped. It's kind of creepy. It's been pretty windy this whole time. Looks like it's blowing in something out there over the dried up lake. But that's how I feel, man. And I think that this is a great thing for people to experience. So if you have the opportunity, I strongly suggest that you take some time to yourself and just go take it in for a moment and relish in it. You know what I mean? Don't don't come up here just simply with the idea of having a plan in mind, right? Like come up here and just let it happen. Whatever it is that happens, let it happen. And I think that's where the magic's at. It's okay to come up here with plans too, right? Like, oh, we're gonna go up the canyon for a barbecue or whatever, right? Like all that stuff's cool. I'm not knocking that, and I strongly encourage that. But I'm saying for like some true reflection, just go out someplace in nature and just without a plan, just let it happen. Just be smart, you know what I mean? Like don't go on like 100-mile hike by yourself and not let anybody know. That's dumb, right? But you know, that's why I turned around, man. Like I wanted to keep going higher up the mountain, but I was like, you know what? I'm up here by myself. You know, my wife knows that I'm up here, but she doesn't know exactly where I'm at. Like, I probably shouldn't just keep going. I'll just turn around and it is what it is. You know what I mean? But, so be smart, but just let it happen. Let it happen. Let your mind go and just sort things out. It works for me. I'll just leave it at that. I don't know if it'll work for you, but in light of trying to think of things to present that I think will help people, that's one of them. That's one of them. You know, just don't forget to take time to reflect on where you are. You know, I said this yesterday, like I'm so proud of myself for where I've gotten versus where I think I could have ended up. And I don't give myself enough credit for that. I don't, you know, and I think I do a pretty good job of giving other people credit for the roles that they've played in where I've gotten, but I don't know that I give myself enough credit. And maybe that's because I view that as selfish, or maybe it's because I haven't fully forgiven myself for things in my life, or I don't know what it is. But I don't give myself enough credit, and I really need to. You know, I've worked hard. I've not just, you know, job wise, but I've worked hard physically, mentally to get to where I'm at, and I don't give myself enough credit for it. You know, because in the same token, I'll say things where it's like I don't think people really understand how much work I'm putting in to stay in the mental state that I'm in. Like, I think at this point, it's almost like it's kind of like me with nature. Like people take it for granted because I feel like I've worked so hard at making sure that I maintain some form of consistency that I don't think people realize like how difficult it is for me on a daily basis. You know, some days are obviously easier than others, but it's become second nature, right? And I don't give myself enough credit for having been able to do that. You know, and so don't forget to take time to reflect on where you are, you know, where you've come from, or where you're trying to go even. maybe you've got a goal in mind and you just need some place to focus that energy. I think this a place like this is great. There's nobody here. No, I've seen like three cars. Two of them were forest trucks, so they were up there working. There's nobody here. Absolutely nobody. And it's amazing. The biggest thing, don't forget to be proud of yourself. And that's a concept that I struggle with a lot. So no judgment here. No judgment here. So I think what I'll end it with, because, there's no point doing final thoughts when the entire episode is final thoughts. But I think what I'll end it with is, I don't know if anybody saw the absolute ass kicking that the Minnesota Timberwolves gave to the Denver Nuggets last night. I didn't see the fourth quarter, so maybe they brought it back, but I can tell you the first half, holy smokes, they were beating the crap out of them. If you don't watch basketball, fine, whatever, you're just weird, okay? But no, it was a complete ass kicking. They should have been playing Ice Cube's No Vaseline the entire time that game was playing, because it was brutal. Actually, you know what? Since I still got you guys here, let's look it up, okay? Because I didn't see I tried to go to sleep because I did plan on going to work, but when I woke up this morning, I just did not feel good. It just wasn't gonna work out. And I didn't see the point in forcing the issue. So let's see. Try not to knock this off here. Scores. Let's look at yesterday. Oh yeah, 106-80. So easily should have been 146-80, because like I said, they were kicking the shit out of them. I think it was like 60-something to 30 at the end of the first half. I mean, it was insane. So Timberwolves won both games in Minnesota, and they go home for 2 more games. So that could end up being a sweep for the defending champions, and that's wild to even think about. But I'm sure Denver will pull out one. But the way the Timberwolves are playing, I don't know that they're gonna win the series. It's just how I feel. I think they want it more. Their intensity's faster, higher, stronger. So yeah, I don't know. Crazy. So if you didn't see that complete ass whooping, you missed out. It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch. So I'm just gonna go ahead and end it with that, though, guys. If you are curious, though, the Cavaliers and the Celtics play game 1 today at 5 p.m., followed by the Maverick and the Thunder, who will be playing game 1 as well. So 2 games on tonight, both on TNT, one at 5, one at 7:30. So if you're interested, that's where that's going to be. I hope you guys are doing well. I really do. Where can you find me? You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/average discussion, Instagram, average discussion, Threads, average discussion, X @AVG discussion. You like the show, don't like the show, bitches, gripes, complaints, death threats, whatever may have you. You can email me directly at average discussion. That's all one word, averagediscussion@gmail.com. Quickest way to get me your death threats. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll go back to reality. 1, because I'm thirsty. I had no plan. I knew it was a little bit colder, so I did change. I put on some jeans and a little bit thicker hoodie, but I'm still wearing my slippers that are covered in mud at this point. And I brought a drink, but I've since drank that. So, yeah. I'll probably head back to civilization, grab me something to drink, probably just go home, I guess, and just ride out the rest of this day off in comfort. I should probably eat something too. That'd probably be good. I don't eat well. I mean, I eat a lot, but I don't when I do eat, but I don't eat well. Need to have a better balance, I think. So that's that, guys. Can't think of really anything else. So as always, thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys more than you can even imagine. As always, please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And until next time, I'm out.